The 1941 Liberty wheat penny, more accurately known as the 1941 Lincoln wheat cent, holds a special place in American numismatic history. Issued during the early years of World War II, this penny represents both a continuation of the popular Lincoln cent series and a reflection of the economic and political climate of its era. Let's dive into the detailed and long history of this humble yet historically rich coin. The Lincoln wheat cent series began in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, on the centennial of his birth. It marked the first time a real person appeared on U.S. coinage. The reverse featured 2 wheat ears, symbols of prosperity, giving rise to the term wheat penny. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB can be found on some versions of the coin. His design aimed to convey dignity and simplicity, with Lincoln's profile facing right on the obverse. In 1941, the U.S. was on the brink of entering World War II, although not yet directly involved until the attack on Pearl Harbor in December. America was already gearing up militarily. This context is important in understanding the coin's production and materials. The 1941 penny maintained the traditional copper composition. Total more than 1.1 billion Lincoln cents were struck that year, making it one of the most common wheat pennies. As the U.S. prepared for war, small denomination coins like the penny were essential for everyday transactions. The high mintage in 1941 reflects the booming wartime economy and the government's efforts to maintain sufficient coin supply. The 1941 penny was among the last to use copper before it was rationed during World War II. In 1943, the U.S. shifted to steel pennies, coated with zinc to conserve copper for the war effort. While not rare, the 1941 wheat penny is cherished by collectors for its historical context. It's often one of the first coins young collectors encounter, thanks to its affordability and abundance. There are some known errors and variations. Double die obverse DDO rare. Examples exist with noticeable doubling on the date or lettering. Off-center strikes, lamination errors, and clipped planchets also occasionally occur. No proof. Coins were minted in 1941. Proof production was suspended during the war and resumed only in 1950. This adds to the simplicity and practicality of the 1941 series. Over time, many 1941 pennies developed rich brown, red-brown, or even deep red toning. Color and luster affect a coin's value significantly in the collector's market. The 1941 penny is more than just currency. It symbolizes the strength and unity of the U.S. during a time of global conflict. Many Americans kept these coins as tokens during World War II. Due to U.S. military deployment, many 1941 pennies ended up overseas. They're still found in countries like the Philippines, parts of Europe, and the Pacific Islands. Before the U.S. entered World War II in 1941, the country was recovering from the Great Depression. Coin production began increasing in the late 1930s. As economic conditions improved, the Lincoln wheat cent became one of the most heavily minted coins of the era, and the 1941 issue was part of this growing momentum. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint operated at full capacity. In 1941, their focus was on producing vast quantities of lower denomination coins to support economic expansion and wartime readiness. The Lincoln cent dominated mint output that year, with more than 1 billion produced. During the early 1940s, pennies had real purchasing power. 1 cent could buy a piece of candy, a newspaper, or part of a phone call. A small pocketful of pennies was enough for children and adults to make simple purchases. The 1941 penny was heavily circulated and quickly became a part of everyday transactions. The continued use of Lincoln's portrait on the coin reinforced his symbolic role in American unity. Amid rising global conflict, Lincoln's image reminded citizens of leadership. During times of division, particularly important as America faced the prospect of joining a world war. Copper, the main metal in the 1941 penny, was becoming more precious. With the impending U.S. entry into World War II, copper was earmarked for the production of ammunition and electrical Wiring for military vehicles and communications equipment. This led to experimentation with alternative metals by 1942. Coins like the 1941 penny carried the motto "I in God we trust." This wasn't just symbolic, it reflected a national sentiment of unity and faith in government during uncertain times. The stability of coinage helped build confidence in the US economy, although the 1941 penny was made of copper. Discussions were already underway at the US Mint about replacing copper with cheaper and more available materials. By 1943, this planning led to the introduction of steel cents, a direct response to wartime resource needs. The wheat ears on the reverse of the coin stood for abundance and agricultural prosperity. At a time when the US was gearing up to become the arsenal of democracy, feeding the nation and allies became a priority. The wheat motif took on new significance as part of national strength and survival. 1941. Coinage distribution was controlled by the Federal Reserve Banks, which ensured that high-demand regions such as industrial hubs in the Midwest and East Coast received adequate coin supplies. The West Coast, though smaller in population, also received many 1941 pennies from the San Francisco Mint during the 1940s. It was common for families to save coins in jars and containers. Children were taught the value of saving pennies, and many 1941 coins survived due to this habit. These household savings contributed to the high survival rate of 1941. Wheat cents. 1941. The Lincoln cent.